to leave early. You'll be able to ask your questions live during our webinar. If you submit a question in the Q&A box, please stay close to your computer because we will pick your question and then temporarily promote you to a panelist position in order to ask your questions, so then you can confirm your message on your screen beforehand. Our wonderful speakers today is Kelley and Brian Vincent Rhodes. Kelley has directed, written, and produced award-winning films in Belize, Haiti, China, and right here in the States. She was selected to work with Ron Howard and Brian Grazer's New Form Digital to develop her own web series that went on to compete in top-tier festivals across the nation. Brian is a successful animation director and feature film story artist. He has won multiple international awards for his USC thesis, Mosquito, The Bite of Passage. Brian has sold a show to FX and has worked for Blue Sky Studios, Disney's 20th Century Fox, as a storyboard artist on Spies in Disguise and as a story consultant for upcoming features. Please welcome our wonderful guests, Kelley and Brian. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And we're just very, very grateful for your time. And, you know, we're live and we, Stacy Kravitz is here and she said, we're so happy to see you here, just sending some love and don't take any time for me. Of course we're going to, because we love you, Stacy. Anyway, guys, we have the open Q&A chat. So please start asking your questions. I know every single person that had questions emailed it to us, and please start sending us your questions. We'll make you live like we said. And if not, I can ask the questions, but we prefer to see your faces to do the one-on-one, you know, personal touch like we normally do in these Q&As. So start shooting off the questions because they'd rather see your faces than mine. Let's do it to it, everyone. We've got 50 minutes with these wonderful guests. Question number one. Okay, I'm going on my list then, and we're going to start with the first one, and then I'm sure people will start writing in like they always do.
Okay, cool.
How did you first start working together at USC?
How did we first start working together? I would say, I mean, we're married. This is obvious, right? I would think, but no, we were classmates, and I think it was what, screening out 516.
Yeah, we were in Irving's class for script analysis.
Script analysis, yeah, and you know, I mean, I think there was both mutual respect for the things that we each did uniquely, and I think that you know, I respected her opinion, and I would ask her to come up to the animation lab and be like, "Yo, what do you think about this?" And then she would ask me about, you know, her projects, and it just kind of grew. I would say organically.
We were dating too, so
we were dating too, under the right. Well, that led to.
Okay, here's
us dating.
Here's
too.
Because this is we didn't start working together like most students work together, obviously, because we liked each other and we were dating. But what was interesting is that our love for film made our relationship merge together more seamlessly. Like, I like to say that we never actually dated. He invited me the first time we ever went out. He invited me to a—
Shout out to Wasif.
Wasif.
If Wasif is looking at this. Wasif used to DJ.
Warehouse party.
Wasif was a classmate of ours that DJ and had little house parties that he would throw on the weekend.
Yeah.
And that was the first date we ever went to.
He asked me out. It was my first semester. So he had been there already for about a year and a half. So he knew people more than I did. So it was my first time, and we went and it was great. I met more SEA people. And then after that, we never did. We just merged it together because I would ask him about, like, what do you think of this? I'm thinking of shooting my 507 this way and da-da-da. And he'd give me his opinions, and then he's working in animation because he's in the animation division. He would be writing scripts. And so he would ask my opinion on the script and I would give feedback. And so we kind of just naturally started merging and helping each other and falling in love through film. You know, like it just brought us closer together because you know how people say like film is your baby, those are your film babies, but we were like nurturing each other's babies and wanting to see each other succeed and do well. And he's ahead of me, I want his thesis to be great, so whatever he needed, I was there, even if I was just a sounding board. And then when I moved into thesis, he was there supporting me, doing storyboards for me.
Yeah.
So that's how we started working together.
And it's an intense, I mean, everybody knows it. And when you at SC, it's so intense. So it kind of like, that's 2 years of dating at SC was probably like a 6-year relationship.
It's intensified.
A lot of like ups and downs.
All the time together too,
But,
making films. Yeah, just.
That was, I guess, I don't know if that even answered the question.
It did. It did. That's wonderful. Well, we're going to pull up Jeff Wong next. Rita's pulling it up. And we've had a couple people that are asking under anonymous attendee. Can you please let us know your name so we can pull you up next? We have 2 questions after Jeff. Thank you.
Hi. Is now the time to talk?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, I'll a little close to the camera there. Hi. How's it going?
For quarantine, who's your barber? Where are you going?
What's up?
You look
I know. I need to get some information out of you. Get your barber's information.
Not at liberty to say. It was a low key location. Kelley, I don't know if you remember, we were in that web series class together, Dave Getch, back in like 2015, 2016. It was a while back. Anywho, but this question's for both of you. Thank you so much for being here. If you could describe sort of the development process. I know that sounds like a really large question, but like maybe the like initial development process for the first projects that you worked on, and then as well as maybe like the crucial tentpole individuals of like your team that were really like a big part of like making that happen, and like people that you communicated with on a daily basis, that sort of thing. Is that, if that makes sense?
Is this in school or out of school?
Yeah.
While
I'm
we
sorry?
Is the question the projects while we were in school or out of school? Like first projects out of school?
Out of school.
Out of school. Gotcha.
His answer is gonna be a lot different because he's been working in animation, which is great. So please do tell.
So let me make sure I'm getting it correct. Sort of the process of your first projects right out of school, and then sort of like more so how did you that team and what was that team dynamic like? Is that kind of more or less the question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for both of us, so that's an interesting question because it's kind of an ongoing thing. I mean, you when we first got out, we both had we had ambitions, or we have ambitions, and we're developing also our own projects based on our thesis. So we were I have this my thesis was this film called Mosquito, and it was focused in trying to afterwards taking that same team and just trying to develop it to pitch it, and so it sold it to Fox, and it's sort of, once it goes into a system though, it was a little less independent, so it was more about how they paired you with people and all this kind of jazz. And so then I ended up working in the studio system, which was a little different, but I also in the process of working, I sold happened to someone heard my pitch and I was able to sell a show, a television show. And so that process was also about finding your people that you trusted, because it was, one of the things that I would say you come out of school with, and they said this while we were in school, and it was so it wasn't cliche, but it was one of those things you hear a lot, is like the people you're with are literally like the gold of your experience, your film experience. And I've seen it happen so many times now where, you're let loose in the world, and there's really not a lot of structure, to be honest, when you get out into the world, as you've probably seen. And you do have to say, okay, well, the best, you kind of connect with the people that you already know. Start with what you know, and the people that you bled and sweat with are the people that I trust and believe in, and we all are sort of moving through this thing together. So essentially, I think I just went to what I knew and found everybody that I had already worked with and been working to bring those people either into the studio system or you know, while we develop our own projects, you know, do those things together. So it is literally the same people that I've been with the whole way, you know, for both of us, really. So
yeah. Here's the thing, Jeff. If like you have made it through USC's program, you know how to make a team, and you know how to, like, what to do. It's just a matter of trusting your knowledge, because you go out in the world into this big studio. He went straight into the studio system. I'm still in the independent world. And you think like, oh, everyone has more experience than me. I don't really know everything. And it's great to know that you don't know everything and that you're open to learning. But what you do need to know and trust is that what you do know, what you have learned in those 2-3 years you're at USC is a world of a difference coming straight into the industry. And it will float you
100%.
You just have to jump in and do it. And so like it's going to be pretty much all the people you've worked with, if you're lucky enough to form your own team, because sometimes when you go into the studio, you can't necessarily bring those people with you. Sometimes you can, but for the most part, when you're in the indie side, it's your team. That's why Quentin Tarantino works with the same people. That's why Seth Rogen works with the same people. You see Scorsese working with it. It's who was around you. And I know you know this already, Jeff, because I've seen your work, and you know how to form a team, and you know how to do stuff. And it's really what it is coming out is trusting yourself. Trusting that you have something to contribute to this industry, and that no, you're not going to be perfect. Yes, you're likely to make mistakes. Everyone does. But just know that tuition that you paid at the University of Southern California is going to have you out there doing okay. You just have to trust it. You already know what to do. I'm telling people, if you've completed 508, you pretty much already know what to do. You know, it's the way USC trains you to think about the details, to follow safety protocol, the way Joe has you just, oh my God, I can't do anything without safety now because I'm so programmed. And you get in the world and you realize that people are just out here trying to figure it out themselves, and they're doing all kind of willy-nilly stuff, and you look like the professional because you have formed relationships with Film LA because we're required to get permits for all of our student shoots. You have relationship with safety officers around the city and things like that because you've done it on all your smaller projects. Just because you've graduated and just because you may be moving into feature films or something bigger does not mean that your 3-minute film that you made at USC did not prepare you for what you're about to do. I can honestly say, if anyone here is watching and has gone to University of Southern California, you're going to be all right. And to his point, if you are lucky enough to surround yourself with the people who have helped you throughout those years and you form that unit, you guys are going to pull each other up together. Like, I still work with all my thesis people. We're working right now. I got this pitch. We're finalists right now for the Fox Horror Short Bites horror thing. And so, I mean, I just came, that's why I look out the shovel. I just came from a safe COVID location scout because we're following all these COVID rules. And it's all my USC people with one UCLA girl because she's great.
And a lot of times we use the same friends. We just like,
we share.
We all have the same friends. But I would say more than anything, if that's probably the key point, was that, like, you know, man, I would say that the biggest thing that I've learned since getting out is exactly what Kelley said, is that just the key, I guess, even as an artist, is just trusting yourself. That is I mean, when you get out, it just feels so intimidating, and people have been doing all these things for something. It could feel like that for sure. And, you know, if you get representation, people are trying to like tell you different things, but you really have to believe in your talent, and you have to believe in your judgment, you know, like your greater judgment. And if you feel like something's not right or something, you know, I've just never had that. My intuition has always been right. And it took me a while to learn to trust that. But I feel like that's the goal that'll take you through all of this, you know, and that'll ride you to where you're supposed to be, where you really want to be in the industry. And I 100% believe that. If you heard nothing from anything, just whatever Kelley just said was the truth. Believe in yourself. Crew up. And those relationships, relationships are real friends, like you're real people. You know what I mean? Like those people, you got all of us, we're gonna be like moving up together. And that just, for me, I've seen it happen, man. I've seen it happen. So it's just like literally. And I feel like, you know, believe in the people around you, because you all of us are just coming at the same time, you know?
I know we gave you a more heartful, emotional answer, and you might have been looking for like the technical, like, but I guess we're just saying, just do it, Jeff. You know what to do.
But no, thanks for your question. Hopefully we answered any of that. I don't know.
You could also email me if we didn't answer that. Just
Thanks. No, you're wonderful. Thank you guys so much. And Julia Kennedy is on deck.
Julia,
hey, what's up, Julia?
I like that background.
How are you guys?
Good. I love you're in the subway right now.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I'm on the way to my alma mater as I'm in New York City right now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So Kelley, I know you're like a semester ahead of me, so I'm always curious, like, how are like the people from your cohort doing? Like, what are the qualities of the people who are doing well, and what do you think are like possible mistakes?
Oh, girl, that's a good question. Okay, so especially with this pandemic, it's easy. First of all, no pandemic. It's easy to graduate and just not know what to do. Like, if you're lucky enough to have made a thesis and your thesis is going around festivals and you have a little traction and a little people like checking you out, that's great. But not everyone makes a thesis. And even when people make thesis, like, it does its festival tour, and then what? And so people get out and they start, this is gonna be loud. Sorry, he likes the fan on. They start, they sit still. I guess it's like, it becomes overwhelming. All of the, because when you come from school, you have structure. You're like, I gotta do 507, and I'm doing 508, I'm doing 516, and I'm doing it. You know what you're doing, and you have people regulating you and checking on you. And if you're not doing your job, Brenda Goodman's gonna get on you, or Mike Fink, or some, you've got somebody who's going to make sure you're doing your job. Once you're out, there's none of that. So what separates people from succeeding is, I say, grit. It's the grit that's what really differentiates, because you can easily, especially now, let's get back to the pandemic. You can easily sit here and say, oh, well, there's nothing that can be done. I was just talking to one of the a student who's going in 508, and so 508 this year has to do virtual movies, and that just sounds, that sounds like, what? Like, I'm paying tuition for virtual movies? And so he was thinking of checking out, and I was like, look, man, if you're asking me what I would do, I see this as an opportunity to be creative. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not the only one going through this right now. Mm-hmm. The entire world, I'm talking about to the tiniest island, is going to be affected by COVID. So you need to learn to adapt. Them USC moving forward and having you figure out how to still tell stories in this time that this is how we communicate virtually. It's only making you stronger, more creative, more adaptable, and you can keep moving forward. Just always keep moving forward. You might fall down, get back up, keep moving forward. Though when you graduate, you can be so overwhelmed that you just stand still. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. And you think that what you studied maybe wasn't what you should have studied. You should have gone and been a doctor or whatever that has more structure. But the difference is that grit and finding a way to continue to make things happen in however it may be, whether it be a virtual movie, whether it be whatever, like figure it out, get out there, call your friends and make it happen. That's what sets people apart, because you're going to have your name in the mix always. And then other people are going to be recommending you. And then it becomes word of mouth because you're always out there trying to get something done. And I think that that's not easy to do, because you're like, well, then what do I do? And I say, if you don't have an idea of what to shoot, then try to write. And if you don't know what to write, then read. But you always, as creatives, as storytellers, there's so much to be studying, so much to be learning. And there's so much going on in the world that there's a lot of stories to tell that people are going to relate to, and we just need to be creative. So, I mean, Julia, ultimately, there is no, from what I see, there is no formula. There is no, if you do this, then this will happen, and da, 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 da. But the one thing I have noticed in my friends that are getting job offers right now in the middle of the pandemic, who are figuring things out, those are the ones who stayed busy somehow. They're making little short videos on Instagram or YouTube, or they're writing and they're submitting to, you know what's a really good thing? All of these labs. So I'm going to lean into that too. If you don't know what to do when you graduate, make it your homework to apply to all of these labs, because that's the next. So labs like Sundance Lab.
Yeah.
Sundance has labs for writing, for web series.
Everything.
They have it for directing. They have it for producing. So does Tribeca. So does Toronto. So does ABFF, the American Black Film Festival. So does, you've got to take it upon yourself to do the research and find out what's out there to keep you active. And if you're a more structured person, here's your homework that I'm giving you. Research and find the festival labs that are still going on. They have not stopped, because you can do them virtually, and submit. Write. If you're a writer, if you're not a writer, learn to write. You need to tell stories. You can't, I one time thought that I wasn't a good writer. Mainly because I didn't understand structure and I didn't feel supported. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be a director who just directs other people's writing. And then I took Irving Belatesh, and it was Irving's class that,
Great class.
oh my God, if you could get into his class, you need to. That just changed everything for me. And he taught me that I can. And then it was that semester that the first thing I wrote, I attempted to write, won that competition with Ron Howard. And then the next thing I wrote won the Student Academy Award. And then I just finished writing a feature with Dion Cole from Blackish and Grownish and all that. And that's because of the Student Academy Award got me the director fellowship at Netflix. It got me to, but where did it all stem from? Having that confidence to tell the story and to write it down. I know what it feels like to feel like you're not a writer. And if you just trust yours, it comes back to that trust. As a creative, you have to. And the moment I started, Irving did that for me. And the moment I started feeling like I can do this, I can try it, I'm a writer. Who knew? But I wouldn't have known if I didn't keep that grit up and keep trying and keep going. So I'm sorry, I went on a whole rant because that was a good question, Julia. It's just about getting
She felt
up there.
that, Julia.
I figured it would be a good question for anyone else who's not graduated yet, because I have my own personal opinion, but I wanted to hear what you guys thought.
It was a fantastic question, and we love when you guys have this banter, because you learn a ton on these. So thank you for that. And if it's okay, we'll bring Ryan up next. But thank you for I learned a ton, and so I'm sure others did too. Good to see you, Julia. And now we have Ryan.
Hello.
All right.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan?
Hi, Kelley and Brian. Thank you for joining us today.
Boy.
So I have a two-part question. First question, I see you have a lot of books behind you. I want to know what resources you rely on outside of school now to develop and like improve your storytelling craft and what you, if you're reading books or watching movies or other forms of media. I'm just curious what you're invested in. And secondly, what do you feel the most powerful ways to communicate a talent for story? For example, in searching, for job opportunities, a lot of companies are, saying you'll be working on, a team working on the story for this project. And I just want to know the best ways that you have found to like highlight your talent, your unique talent for story, whether that's demonstrating it online, on websites, or your methods for that. Thank you.
Oh, you take this away. This one is a studier. Go for it.
I mean, it's funny. I tend to find that the things that I learned at USC, I'm constantly revisiting because, there's so many, there's just, if you go on Amazon right now and say how to write a screenplay, there'll be so many books and things, it could kind of become lost in just information. And I think one of the key values of that education, that experience, at least in my opinion, was that these people have vetted a lot of this stuff for you. They've been through the ropes for you. And, I look at my Irving Belatesh lecture notes still. I look at Bruce Block. Bruce Block. Now, if there's one book that I would recommend that actually was very pivotal for me, was this book, The Art of Dramatic Writing by Lagos Egri. Bruce Block gave me this book for my thesis, and it was pretty much like the game changer for me, and but it was very specific. It wasn't like I was just running around looking at stuff. And it's more about, I would say, the temptation to find a lot of new information. I mean, because, more or less story is story. You just get better at it as you keep doing it. I try to not distract myself with a ton of new, shiny things to just reach out to. I just say, this is the experience I've had. Let me make sure I know what I learned. Do you know what I mean? And so if that helps at all. I mean, obviously I still, look at stuff and
he watches a lot of films.
And I watch it. We do a thing here where we'll look at films and we'll just break structure. We reverse engineer a lot of stuff.
We're the worst people to watch a movie with if you're trying to watch the movie, because we're going to pause it.
And that's the thing, you find the stuff that you think is great, or find stuff that you resonate with. I was a storyboard artist, so I looked at things. I would find the parts in a movie that felt, wow, I really felt something here. And then, why did I feel something here? Try to reverse engineer that from a story level, from a directing level. How did that work? So there's a lot of that. And I find, just even if you can't draw, just storyboarding, sometimes like little thumbnails, helps you see things that you wouldn't necessarily see. And that education becomes more of a self-taught, because I personally, I think a lot of the great filmmakers are self-taught, and the self-taught is just basically being able to be proactive in your education and reverse engineer what's working,
and trust yourself again.
Take the car, break it down to its parts, and then build it back again. Basically, that's the concept. And the other question you asked was about
it's about how do you make yourself
the skill that you would use to showcase your ability. Well, so that's a great question. Is that was the idea, right? What sort of and what would you say, let me ask you this, then what would you say your, the biggest thing is asking, or have you identified as your, are you a story brain? Like, are you great with, in the room coming up with structures? Are you the visionary person? Are you the laying it down?
Right. That's all part of the process. I'm a year out now, and I was actually in the MAP program, so a little different, I guess. So I guess it's finding, how I want to maybe identify myself, on whether it be social media or websites or whatever it may be, and then going full force with that identity, so.
What do you want to, if you can sort of give me a pie in the sky vision of the kind of thing you would love to do in the next 5 years, what does that look like for you? Or just a dream?
I think writing stories with, that involve emerging technology, writing and directing films or stories with emerging technologies is
oh man, Ryan, you need to keep applying to Sloan grants left and right.
Okay.
They're still out there. They're not just at USC during that time. Like I actually think Sundance has a Sloan. you go Google anybody listening who is into science, technology, and you want to write that, or you know someone who's a writer, but you want to direct that, or however it is, you better pursue those Sloan grants, because they,
Sure.
I mean, they have you pursued the
No,
Sloan?
I haven't. So this is great. So no,
Are you
for
also
sure.
are you also referring to something like I would say like the Mandalorian
Yeah,
used a lot?
pretty much. Yeah, exactly. That kind of stuff.
Sloan. Yeah.
So I mean, in that sense, you know, you have your training is sort of unorthodox in that way, and I would say that, you know, getting into a space, you know, if I would be looking for those sort of unorthodox opportunities to just be a fly on the wall, because what will happen is, for instance, like for myself, you know, how I got into sort of story consulting, that wasn't a first jump at all. It was more, I was a story artist and I had a lot of ideas for the story that eventually led them to recognizing my story ability, which led me to, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you can get in a space, however your talents, and always, and I agree, I believe in this, is just show your strongest hand, especially out of college, especially out of school, whatever your gift, whatever your most refined thing is, let that lead you into the first opportunity. And then from there, you can grow and find a bunch of opportunities from there. But let that, you know, I would say don't try to be everything right when you come out of school, right? Just like you have a short term and a long term, right? Like if your thing right now is you know, you have whatever that is. I don't know. I don't want to conjure up your thing, but let that lead your first opportunity, and then focus that opportunity on a place that you could see yourself growing. So if that is a ILM, or if that is an independent thing where I need to find a grant, a Sloan kind of grant, like what Kelley was saying, then let that, you know, facilitate the next thing so that people can see sort of, because you have more than just, you have tons of gifts, right? And I think some of those gifts are a little harder to demonstrate, you know what I mean? You know, in the beginning.
Do you want to direct too? I know you came out of math, but you guys make things, so it's the same thing. So do you want to direct, or
Hey, you know, at the moment, I think focusing on writing, and I think directing, like down the line, like you said, big picture is something I want to do. But for now, just to be involved in the process of including that technology in, you know, the
great
production process.
I think that's great. Oh, I'm so glad you're a writer. Writing is just, it starts there. Okay, Sloan, like I said before,
Right.
I think USC, it's not an official program, but I know John Watson has done his best to try to pair people with mentors. You can also ask some of your faculty, like email. I find that most USC faculty are just, they'll talk to you even though you graduated, just like they did before. And you can say, hey, I just need a little guidance. This is what I'm looking for. Somebody who writes in this world of, you know, technology and such. Is there anyone, I just need an hour with them. Maybe they would just give me their time. Maybe one of your faculty members can pair you. I strongly recommend mentorships. If you reach out to me, Kelley on Instagram, I have a friend who's working on The Mandalorian right now, who is my cohort, and he might actually be a good mentor for you. He's so brilliant. I call him Baby Spielberg. So like, that's somebody that I'd be willing to introduce. I'm not saying he's gonna agree. He might. I know I'm putting him on blast on recording. But if you reach out to me, I'll try to do that. But I think having a mentor also straight out is very helpful. Yeah. And at least in a production program, I know John Watson had done a fantastic job of trying to pair us with industry mentors, and I'm still in contact with my industry mentor. And I think that, especially during the pandemic, I'm not saying what people will do, but I'm pretty sure if you contact some of your faculty, they'd be glad to connect you with some of their friends just to keep you going and keep you.
They absolutely are doing that. We speak with the chairs all the time, and they are very hands-on and absolutely doing that and supportive of it. So I 150% support that, and great idea.
And I will add quickly that to co-sign that, everything that I've received, everything that I received has been through some form of relationship at USC.
Mm-hmm.
It started from like faculty to classmates that had some sort of in at a place and they recommended me because they remembered me, this kind of thing. So, you know, pinging the people in your life already versus trying to sort of reach out to the nebulous stratosphere of social media. Not to say that's not a bad idea to have a brand and all that kind of stuff, but I would say that you've invested a lot of time and real relationship energy into a space. Make sure you focus get out of that, get something out of that, right? And that's the thing that really moves you through this industry is real relationships, not the. I hate the word networking because it has a sort of shallow thing to it. No. I'm just saying, like, it had connotation. Like no.
How about this? Building your Rolodex. We say building your Rolodex and making sure you keep the contacts current.
Yes, you have real relationships and you have real friends and real people, real faculty, people that you can confide in and through the USC experience, because I think that's the best place to start. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's the best place to start.
Agreed.
Justin, I could, Justin hooked me up with plenty of stuff. You know, people have just, you got good people around you and just use them.
Yeah, look, Lisa, everyone over at SCA Industry Relations, you better call them.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, and we are here for you, and that is, and please know that everyone on this call, and if you don't know that, we'll keep in a very respectful way harassing you about it. So thank you, Ryan. And
Thank you,
we will
guys.
be pulling Teo up next, and then we'll have time for one more question, and then we'll finish it up with any last minute thoughts.
No way!
Hey, what's up? I love you guys so much.
When she first met,
I love this reunion, by the way. I have fun on all of these, but I'm getting such a kick out of today.
Honestly, that was my incentive. I was like, I haven't talked to them in so long. I just want to talk to them.
When I first met her, because I was president of SCA, and so I used to have to speak to all the new incoming class, and she's so proactive, and she came up to me and she's like, "Hi, I'm Tayo. Like, tie your shoe," and I will never forget that.
That's amazing. Tayo's amazing. She's in the first star program, and we are back and forth all the time and stuff. And I love your energy to begin with, but this whole thing was just, fantastic.
Tayo came in after me. I'm above her in the class cohort, and she's the one who hooked me up with the Fox short bites. And Tayo, we're finalists now. So thank you.
That's a perfect
Again, right back to what you just said.
Perfect example. Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting with COVID because they told us that our script is like ready to go, and I'm like, okay, like let's shoot this thing. But it's anyway, COVID sucks. Anyway, my question is just like, I'm just thinking like, especially between live action and animation, right? What's your strategy as far as like directing or creating right now? Are you focusing on like more shorts, or Kelley, like for Narrative 7, I know you're writing the feature. Are you like planning on directing it? Like, what are you guys up to right now? Like, and strategy wise, like what's your move next? Like whatever you want to talk about. You've kind of been planting it in your answers, but like for all the people, like what's your strategy right now, especially when it comes to live action for you, Kelley, and animation for you, Brian? Because at least with animation, it feels like the industry is doing just fine because y'all can work from home.
Yeah, they're living. It's us that is like out like scavenging in the streets for okay, so the feature I just wrote with Dion, it's out, it's being shopped around. The agents are still so like I'm at CAA, he's at WME. They're both still working everyone's still working and shopping it around. Even though like they know we're not going into production. It's just like a weird thing because some shows are starting. I know I spoke to my friend over at SWAT, they're starting and they're like calling themselves the industry leader of how to shoot under COVID. So like they're going to be like one of the first ones out showing how to safely shoot. So I know that productions over at ABC are starting back. So really what I've been told through my Netflix contacts and a few others is that they're looking for a lot of writing, like a lot of scripts, because they're buying them up, because everyone's like chomping at the bit for us to figure out how to safely shoot and do everything and then just go and then make it, because people are running out of new content. Come next year, it's becoming very dangerous for these streaming platforms, even with all the content they have. As for me, yeah, so that's good for us, because that means you need to write. I keep going back to the writing. So even if you don't think you're a writer, please try, because I did that once before. And
yes, I still look at my Irving Belatesh notes. So
Irving is just yeah, pull on all your keep notes. Anyone who's still in school, you guys,
keep good
put
notes.
that in a Google Drive where it will not be lost, or Dropbox, because we reference our notes all the time. I'm prepping. We are supposed to shoot this Fox short. If we get this, we are supposed to shoot in September.
Okay, that's news to me, because I'm like, they're telling us like we're ready to shoot. I'm like, okay. But yeah,
that's their tentative. It doesn't mean it like it's more like we would like to. But I don't know, because I'm not in your seat yet. There's 2 people competing for it, so we'll see if I get it.
Okay, fingers crossed. Sending good vibes.
There's some other shenanigans I'm up to that I'm not gonna say on here, but you can call me. But there's just know that let me tell you, I'm utilizing my USC network, and we are creating something that you would watch visually, safely, following all COVID rules and regulations. I just can't say what it is yet, but I have been nonstop creating. Oh, I'm even writing a children's book, the short story. So that Ron Howard project that I won back at SC, the Ron Howard executive had encouraged me to write it as a children's narrative so that it would be optioned later. So for those who don't know, when you sell a script, like a movie script, oftentimes if anyone buys it, a studio production company, they're going to want the intellectual property to it. You pretty much always sell the IP to a script. However, for other forms of literature, like novels, short stories, sometimes even blogs, comic books, graphic novels, things like that are either published by being published to the internet or actually published, there's different rules for that. It's under a different literary rule, and studios would then have to option it for a certain amount of time, but the rights always go back to you. So like Game of Thrones, that's why the author of Game of Thrones is able to make a better ending than what the last season was, and that I dedicated all my life to. So, yeah. So I'm up to stuff, and I keep being told that we're going to be shooting in. There's a Netflix feature I'm supposed to be working on that's supposed to start shooting in September.
By working on, do you mean directing?
No, I'm helping produce.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The other ones I'd be directing. I'd be directing the feature for Dion, for that comedy feature. I would be directing the Fox thing if we get that, and then I'm directing this other shenanigans I can't wait to tell you about. Yeah, so this is what I was telling Julia. You cannot make excuses. There's always a way to do things. And you guys, these festivals coming up this year, they're going to see the lowest amount of submissions they have ever seen. You better figure out something safely, says the Joe Wallenstein in the back of my head. But figure out something. Do not be the people that sit and wait to be told how to do something. Be the people who be the ones who figure out how it's done, but safely, and then that's what separates people. Those who are like waiting for permission, and those who just go and ask forgiveness safely, though. I keep reiterating.
All safely, yes. Not worth dying on a film set.
Yeah, I see our Juliet looking all fine as wine in the summertime.
Yeah. We're gonna finish up our last question with Juliet. I love that all of you know each other. I have to say, honestly, before we finish up, I love my job, and my greatest satisfaction is running the First Jobs program. We're doing these webinars, just honestly seeing our recent alumni get opportunities that they're passionate about and helping introduce them to the outside world. And just, I can go on forever. It's my greatest passion. But today, I have to say, is probably my one, I don't want to pick favorites, but one of my favorite webinars I've ever done, because this chemistry and seeing you guys be so connected, and still after several years of graduation, I hope everyone who's still students who are on here see that it really is important to connect with your peers, because you will be friends and working together and colleagues down the road. The dean says at day one in orientation, like, look around the room. These are the people you're going to want to work with and be associated with and friends with 20 years from now. She's so spot on about it. Like, and I just, the energy of this talk, like, it actually gave me goosebumps. So I just want to say, before Juliet finishes the talk, thank you so much for being here. I'm just so blown away by the two of you, and just everyone who spoke, all of the alumni who have spoken, and current students. So I'm just very grateful to all of you, because you make my job very happy and very fulfilling. So, you know.
No, thank you for doing this and giving us a place to share this knowledge and to also learn from our friends.
and Justin, because these webinars were his idea. I can't take credit for that. So yeah, Justin rocks.
Shout out to
yeah, so let's go to Juliet now. Last question. Yep. Hey, Justin. And to you. We will finish that on up. Great to see you.
Juliet.
Thank you, Lisa, for everything. Can you hear me?
Of course.
No.
Yes, we hear you. Now we don't. Now we don't. Come on back.
Okay,
There
good.
you are. You're
Sorry.
back.
No,
Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in around middle of France in a countryside house.
But why?
I'm going back to London tomorrow, though.
If we want to talk about like first jobs, why are you originally back in Europe between France and some other country that I'd like for you to say? Like, why are you over there? Maybe people might.
This is not about me, right? I'm supposed to be the one asking you a question, love, not the other way around. No, I was lucky enough to, right after graduation a year ago, go for it. I have family movement. Right after graduation a year ago, to be hired right away to move to London to work on 2 big movies, which turned out to be 3. I got hired to work on the next 2 Mission Impossible, and I ended up doing Top Gun Maverick, which was in reshoots in London. So this has been going on, and it should be going on if COVID didn't hit, but we're starting again soon, so that'll be fun. Now on to my question, because this is not about me.
Spectacular, straight out of SC, you got that in the editor department. I think it's fantastic, and you're a perfect example of how you're learning how they're adapting through COVID to figure out how to make this work. You know,
I mean, especially on the set of Mission, it's been kind of crazy, because we were supposed to shoot in Venice when COVID hit, and we were literally, I think, a day away from starting principal photography when everything was shut down, because Venice was like the worst place to be in for COVID. But at first, the filmmakers were like, oh no, we're gonna keep on shooting until otherwise the Italian government shut us down or Paramount shut us down. And they were like, we're just gonna keep going. And then they got shut down really quickly. But in the first place, they really wanted to keep going just to be able to start shooting, no matter what would happen. But safety was most important.
Yeah, especially, this is good to hear. These are some other first jobs straight out of SC, and how you're adapting to the pandemic, because we're all in the same boat together. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course, I got really lucky and actually met the team that I'm working with thanks to SC. So without SC, I would not be where I am right now. But yeah, my question is, as an ending question for you, You kind of talk about it, Kelley, a little bit, but what's next for the both of you? Are you doing anything together? Are you doing anything separate? Seeing how I can't get you on the phone more than 5 minutes, I'm taking my time to talk to you now.
It's so true. What Brian's doing? Brian's doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, this is like a family affair kind of thing. We always in this call we always talk to each other, so this is great. So right now I'm working on a new animated feature for Fox Disney for Blue Sky, and so I'm helping to write this new feature, and that's a cool honor to have been given. And I guess that goes to say I started as a story artist and then have been able to slowly but surely demonstrate other abilities, and then that led to.
I'm gonna stop you. Can he please, Lisa? I really want Brian to tell this story, like the truth.
What?
Straight out of school, how it was great, and then it sucked, and then it's great. And so I really want
honesty. Go for. I mean, are you saying can it be honest? Like, please.
Yeah. So
are you asking me if it's okay to be honest, or is that where we're? What?
It's gonna be. I just want to give him a little time because I think this is.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. No, people need to hear that it's not like you're not going to just roll out of school and like it be like, hey, things are great. Like there's going to be ups and downs, and we've all been there, but it's going to be okay. And look where you're at now. So thumbs up to you. Go for it.
Totally. Okay. So the process of that was like, I got out of school, I made this short, and I didn't anticipate the short to do what it did. I didn't really anticipate. I made this little short, and this is a true story. I ended up how I got here was I finished my thesis film, and I had a week. I was waiting on her. I went to the SCA career panels.
It's a great story.
Okay, this is a true story. I went to the SCA career panels, and I just wanted to pop in because it was a guy who was speaking, a guy named Franklin Leonard who started the Blacklist. And he was speaking at one of these panels, and I had just finished this little short that I had done as my thesis. And I went up to him not to ask anything after his talk. It was interesting because I was like sort of always self-motivated. I'm gonna write my own feature, then I'm gonna move on and do this and that. And so I said, hey man, I got this short film that I did that I have a feature version that I want to write, and could you give me some advice on how to proceed? Long story short, he saw the feature, and then that allowed me to saw the short, that allowed me, to give representation, and that allowed me to get into the Blue Sky Studios. So I went into Blue Sky Studios as a story artist, and within a few weeks, months of being there, it was a tough road. Disney was about to buy Fox Studios, and it was just like things weren't clicking, and I was struggling. I was struggling hard to be there.
He wasn't as fast as the other board artists.
And I wasn't as fast. I sort of jumped into this opportunity, and I had to like sprint to try and keep up. And I'm up all night.
He's working double the hours. I never see him because he's just trying to keep up, and it's like he's pouring himself into this first job.
Yeah, my first job, and it turned into a little bit of a nightmare, to be honest. And it ended up being where I went there on a contract, and I got to a point where I was just like, this is not going to work out if I keep going. And I decided that I was going to ask because they were going to purchase the studio, and they also were going to take my movie. And so I had a decision to make, whether I just stick it out there and just let it kind of move in this direction that didn't feel good, or do I come back to LA and try and figure it out. And I decided to come back to LA and try and figure it out. After that, it was challenging because it was like, I felt that I had made the right decision, but it wasn't a clean decision. And it wasn't a decision that I thought I was going to be like, this led to this, that led to that. And it wasn't like that. It was like, where do I go now? But I knew I felt I made the right decision, but it wasn't clear afterwards what to do. So I ended up working on another project that I had sold, and I just started pouring myself into that. Now that was also another challenging thing because I didn't know how to write a TV show. I ended up selling these things, and this is a kind of a thing where I ended up being fortunate to get opportunity early, but I wasn't prepared in a sense that I wasn't seasoned enough to deliver on those opportunities. So it took me time to grow into the opportunity that I had received. And so those were like super growing pains. And you struggle, and then
But who helped you?
a lot of people.
A
What do you mean?
USC mentor.
A bunch of people. Who?
Pam.
Oh, Pam. So who showed up to be my savior
USC again.
was USC faculty. I ended up reaching out to David Isaacs.
Yeah,
I ended up
David.
reaching out to Jack Epps.
Jack?
I ended up reaching out to
Did you
Pam
talk to
DC.
Barnett at all too?
I did not talk to Barnett.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Barnett though.
Yeah, we love him.
And it ended up saving me because I was like drowning at one point. And it ended up coming all back. Well, come full circle. The studio ended up realizing that, you know, me leaving was whatever, and they were like, you know, we would love to have you come back and focus you on really telling stories. Because as a story artist, I was always the person like, well, this doesn't make sense in the story. Why would the character do this?
You guys,
And it was kind of like,
wait.
shut up and draw. So I just shut up and draw.
His downfall at the studio was he had been trained by Irving Belatash and Bruce Block and Barnett Hellman,
Yeah.
and he could see story holes in a lot of things sometimes, and he would voice it, and it would become that wasn't his place at the time. It just became, he had to learn when and when not to share. And so, but they noticed him. They knew he was good at story because he kept catching everything from the last time.
But that ended up, I say all that to say that when I was saying earlier when we first started is like trusting yourself. I trusted myself to leave a situation that felt like, it was like, why are you leaving this situation? You seem crazy, you know? And
because it was good money.
It was great money. It was a great opportunity. And I ended up leaving that situation and ended up being to my benefit that I did, because I was able, the growth that I had in between there.
I tell him how many years it was. It wasn't just a few months.
It was like 2 years.
Almost 2
years
of having to trust his intuition and trust it was going to work out and trust that he made the right decision. And 2 years.
2 years of just figuring stuff out. And that was super painful, but it ended up being kind of my blessing of blessings, to be honest with you. And so I ended up, a lot of opportunities kind of came afterwards, and that's sort of how that shook out. But yeah, thank you for
I mean, it's a phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was in so much pain, you guys. This man was on the floor. Just those 2 years were rough because he, and especially like as a husband, he's the type who wants to take care of family. And then he knew that it was the right decision, but he would constantly question over those years, was it the right decision? Because am I putting my family through stress because I'm trying to when he could have sat in a comfortable job with we had health insurance, you guys. That was amazing. And like, it was comfortable, but he made the choice, and I thought it was the best choice too, but it wasn't. There's going to be times you make a decision and you think it's right, and stuff doesn't pop off immediately, and then you start second guessing yourself. And that's where you need your friends, and that's where you need your USC network, because it really was like Pam and David Isaacs and like people who came around. It was like, you're gonna be all right, just keep going, keep going. You're gonna be, it's like what you just said, Lisa.
That's the theme of this, and I'm so grateful that all of this has come full circle. I mean, it's basically don't give up, and we have a circle. We are a circle. We are going to support each other no matter what level you're at. You have our office, we have the alumni. We're here to support one another. So just know that no matter what level you're at on this webinar, we're all here for each other. And I cannot thank you both enough for your time and your inspiration and your confidence boost today. And I just want to congratulate you both. You're kicking bum and you're doing amazing, and you're both so incredibly talented and just so wonderful. And amazing people and deserve all the success you're having. And everybody else on this call is the same to you. You're incredibly successful no matter what level you're at, and don't give up and keep working hard, because yeah, we're in really weird times right now. We don't know where things are going, but it's only going to go up from here. So just try to keep a smile on your face and know that, you know, if you work hard like these two wonderful people, it's going to be okay. And sooner than later.
It will be okay.
And
that's for
So
sure.
thank you.
if anyone has any like questions that they didn't get to ask, like you can.
There's several, so thank you.
Yeah, and we're I'm really active on Instagram, so you can reach me on Instagram or on Facebook.
You can give our email.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, and our email. All of my stuff is IAMKELLEYKALI. So that's like at Gmail. If you want my email, that's at Instagram. That's Kelley Colley on Facebook. So you should be able to find me if you didn't get to ask a question.
That's awesome, because there are several questions that came in. Unfortunately, we didn't get to. You guys are very popular, and we're just so grateful and thankful that you are here with us today. So I hope I get to see you both again very soon, and thank you all who joined us today as well.
Thank you. Oh, I'll give mine too. Mine is Brian Vincent Rhodes at Gmail. Brian Vincent Rhodes at Gmail. So, yeah.
If you hit him up on social media, you're not going to hear back from him because he doesn't.
Instagram, I'm getting better with, but you know.
I'd send him an email.
Send me an email.
The marriage vibe is awesome. I love the back and forth. You guys are adorable. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope everybody else has a wonderful day. And truly, I cannot thank you enough for being here. You guys literally made my day, and I'm very, very thankful and grateful. So thank you, and everybody else have a great day.